Hey, Martyr.
Oh my God, hi.
Listeners want to know what's going on with your love life.
Oh my God, don't get me started. These apps have me going crazy. I'm on there for hours, but I can't seem to find a date.
Have you heard of Motto? Motto is the new no nonsense hookup app for gay and queer people.
Hookup apps have become a staple in queer culture, but they also come with the bullshit. Headless torsos, blank profiles, catfish after catfish, and I feel like I'm always scrolling the grid.
Well, on Motto, every profile is verified by a real human, and every photo has a face.
Ooh,
Motto sends you daily matches of people who match your interests and kinks. There are no fees, no ads, and no nonsense.
I love that. Sounds like my kind of app.
Get Motto today by going to the link in this episode's description or use invite code ZVOGS when signing up. That's ZVOGS when signing up.
Ooh, I think I will. Motto, gay and queer hookups without the nonsense.
Wig, did you just say wig? Wig, okay. I know, wig. I feel that already. Wig, okay. Wig, did you just say wig? Wig, okay. I am ready for my wig to go flying.
One. Oh, hi kids.
Hi.
Hey,
So happy June, kids. It's been
Happy
a
Pride.
happy Pride. We're in it. We're in it to win it. I'm Martyr,
MC Tepper.
and this is
do I introduce myself?
not yet.
You're next.
Oh, okay,
You're
okay.
next. Don't
You're
worry.
next,
We'll
you're
get to you.
next. And
We're
this
keeping
is
that one in.
yeah.
Wig it out.
Hi Caitlin. How was your I mean we're just starting June, so how's your summer been or spring, I guess?
How's my spring? Yeah, I guess it's like end of
And just
spring.
yeah, we're getting there.
It's been shit. I'm over it.
I'm on my third sinus infection, so loving it.
Ever
Um,
since I got married, everything has gone downhill. So
oh God, I'm not keeping on it. Well, glad to hear, or not, not glad to hear, but I hope everything gets better. But love you dearly.
it gets better. It is Pride Month, so maybe it
Yeah.
will.
Oh yeah, obviously. Oh my, okay. Moving on.
Let's drink a Bud Light to that.
Oh yeah. Uh, absolutely. Even though I'm in my sober phase, as usual, but
I
I'll just
barely drink.
I barely, yeah.
I've been lo- I, I've been loving that journey on TikTok actually.
Oh
I'm living for it.
my sober
Sorry to
journey.
chime in.
Yeah.
Yes, sorry to chime in.
You watch
Cut it out, cut it out, cut it
Martyr's
out.
TikTok?
Yes,
I just
yes.
bitch
I
on
always
TikTok.
scroll. I just scroll. I'm like, I can't.
Um,
I see too much of you.
I know. No, I got rid of my I might keep this in. I got rid of my close friends on my Twitter
Oh, did you?
and Instagram. Yeah, because I was like,
Oh,
I'm
wow.
telling y'all don't need all this.
We know too much about
Yeah,
you.
yeah. So, but now my daily diary is like getting out of drag. I'm like, what thoughts do I have on it?
I
I
live.
didn't
I
realize
live.
that.
So they're just sort of diary entries, and I don't really care. Like TikTok's not serious to me, so I'm just like
No.
whatever.
It's
After going viral for like a clip of a friend at Disney World, like I don't care. Oh God, did you freeze? No, okay, good.
no, we're just
Yeah.
like we're like, okay.
I just don't care about TikTok. It's not my medium, and that's okay. So,
I
uh,
I kind of feel it though. I'm not really crazy about it either. I mean,
I
the
love
girls.
watching TikTok. I would never
Oh,
put anything on TikTok.
I'm obsessed. Honestly,
um,
Yeah.
like every night, 3 hours just scrolling. But to actually participate in it, I just don't get it. You
it
know?
feels so artificial to me to do like TikTok trends and like transit like those weird transition. Like I love that the kids are doing being creative about it, but I'm like, this is not for me, but and that's okay.
We're
Yeah,
too old.
Yeah.
it's too much of a production. I'm like, that's why like Instagram is easy. You post what you want to post. That's
Yeah.
it. You know?
I mean, it's dying, but it's all we got
Yeah.
right now.
Hello.
I'm
Yeah.
not trying to be popular on TikTok. I'm trying to, I don't know, exist in the world of TikTok. Um, Anyways, enough about that.
Enough about you. This is not Martyr cast.
It's only one half and that's only one half of the story.
Oh, God.
Anyways, Caitlin,
we didn't even introduce our
I know
guest.
we're getting there. I'm doing it right now.
You should do it because
Okay.
you work with them.
I have. Our lovely guest for this first month of Pride is Missleidy Rodriquez. Woo-woo!
Hey.
Hi, my love. How are you?
How you doing? I'm kicking it, chilling, happy to be here. You know,
Yay.
Love to hear. I'm actually like obsessed with your background right now because your full stack of wigs is right behind you, and I'm like, there's some gorgeous
That's a real
sculpture
drag
pieces.
room.
Yeah, that's a drag room.
get into it. I mean, literally, and then there's more over here.
Oh my
too.
God.
It's like- yeah.
Listeners, there's maybe 10, 15 wigs that we just saw.
It's giving Hedwig in the Angry Inch.
Yes. Very
The new Broadway
Very
version.
much.
very backstage at a club, but like a very nice dressing room. So I love.
It's much
Thanks,
nicer
sir.
than any New York
Yes,
dressing
yeah,
room.
absolutely. Well, considering they're like 150 square feet, maybe.
Literally.
Yeah.
Literally.
I love you, Metro. Anyway.
Sure.
That was a little tight,
And we still managed
we
to
got
get,
loosen her up.
yeah, we still get 20 people in there, so it's fine.
Oh,
No,
fact.
it never isn't full of
I mean, it's better than the one at Rosemont.
There's one at Rosemont.
This Rosemont has a
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
It's a one bathroom that locks.
I mean, I've been upstairs.
Oh God. Okay.
Enough about that.
Yeah, let's get into it. Let's get into our lovely guest.
We have a lot to talk about today.
We do. I think we're just in a
Okay.
chatty mood today, which is
We're in
good.
a loopy,
Yeah.
which
I'm
is
high-
fine.
I'm high off Dayquil. Caitlin's high off life. Missleidy, what are you high off?
Yeah.
Rat poisoning. Let's get that.
Oh.
You know,
Love to hear
it's
it.
the
I
new
love to-
trend. The new trend. The new trend.
It's a new trend.
Oh my gosh, that's a big solo cup.
I know, right? It's literally my roommate's, and
Oh my
his
God.
grandmother gave it to him, and I've honestly adopted it, and it's the only thing I drink out of now.
It's incredible.
Oh my God.
If you can't see, there is a giant solo cup. It is like the size of your head. That is
Literally.
incredible.
Oh my God.
Incredible.
Okay.
All right, enough about solo cups.
Yes.
Let's get into it.
Yes.
All right, we're going back in the past. What was life like growing up in Las Vegas in a large Cuban family?
I mean, it was, to me, it was honestly the best. Like, my grandparents had a big part in like raising me, and I'm first generation Cuban. My grandparents and my parents came here in 1979. So growing up in Vegas, it wasn't very much like Americanized until I got into like elementary school, and actually like experience like other people, because at first it was just like a big Cuban community. So like I feel like I knew like Spanish before I knew English. Like, it was very much like I grew up in like that bubble. And my grandparents were very much people that like they brought everybody together. Like they had like a big house. No, not have a big house. They had a house, and like they would always have like big get-togethers, and they would always invite like the other like Cuban families that they knew, like cousins, aunts, everything. And they really gave me like community. Like that was like my first taste of like what like community was outside of like my family circle. And like that community I considered family, and I still do today, So it was very much like growing up like very Cuban. And then as I got older and I started going to school and stuff like that, I mean, Vegas was chill. I mean, as chill as it can be, like I had like a fake ID when I was like 16, and we were going to like strip clubs and like doing all this shit. But yeah, it was pretty fun.
How did your family end up in Las Vegas? Because I didn't know there was like that like a big like population of Cubans over there.
Well, I think there was a big population, because I think if I remember correctly, there was a Catholic church that was helping a lot of the Cubans that were coming to America get like situated and stuff. But before my grandparents came out, my great great grandmother came out first. And they went to Utah first because there was casinos and stuff there. And the first time it snowed, they're like, we gotta get the hell out of here. So Vegas was the next place that had like jobs in the casinos, like porters, you know, like all that kind of stuff. So they moved over there, and then everybody after that kind of went over there. And at first it was my grandmother, my grandfather, and my mom and my dad, and then the my grandmother and my grandfather on my mom's side as well. And after that, they kind of brought out everybody else to Vegas. So that's how the family kind of grew over there.
That's
Aw.
awesome.
Yeah.
It sounds like you had a lot of support down there.
Yeah. No, my family is fantastic. I love them.
Aw, I love
And
that.
I've been gay as hell since I was like little, and there was like no qualms about it, you know?
That's amazing.
So yeah, they're the shit.
So as you got older, you ended up in LA for fashion styling. How did that all happen?
So in high school, I mean, when I tell you I was like gay as fuck, I was like really gay. Like I was like the only like boy in like home ec class like sewing, you know? And I kind of ate up all the girls in there. Like I was like designing like miles around them and stuff like that, like circles around them. But so I had an awesome teacher. Her name was Miss Sheldon, and she really like poured into us. And honestly, I never wanted to go to college or anything like that. I was like kind of just gonna stay in Vegas after high school. And she really like poured into us and like really ignited like my like love for fashion. And she kind of like put these like what is that called? Competitions, you could call it that or whatever, or showcases. Like they were like
Mm.
Project Runway. And she got us like to do a runway show at like the Fashion Show Mall, which is like a big mall in the middle of the strip and all that kind of stuff. And it was just like really inspiring at that time. So when she was giving us those opportunities, I really like fell in love with it, and I like wanted to get more into fashion. So at first I started out making like tote bags, and I was like selling them around high school, and I had a whole like MySpace
Oh
page
my
where I would like post all my
God.
bags and like sell them. And then from that, I kind of turned into like I did like fashion shows, and they started at like my school, and then it was at my school car dealerships, which is like really random. And then I ended up turning it into like an art, fashion, and music festival where I brought like musicians, artists, everything, and it was just like a showcase of like talent in like Vegas. And while that was kind of like at its peak when I had like sponsors and everything getting into it, I I won this design competition that Caesar's Palace put on. And it was like best new fashion designer of Las Vegas, whatever. And so I won that. And then one of the prizes was I got to assist a stylist from New York City. And I was like, oh my God, this is major. And at first, I was only really doing it to get my clothes into like magazines. And as it started to like progress, we like created like a beautiful like working relationship together. And he ended up giving me like little styling jobs here and there. And I ended up falling in love with that process because it was like I got to pretty much create a collection, but through imagery instead of having to spend like all of this time like sewing and creating this and like trying to put together like a show and all that. So I kind of fell in love with that. And like side story, so Project Runway hit me up while I was like in that whole thing. And they were the rudest, most shittiest people I ever fucking met. And like they
That doesn't surprise
literally
me.
yeah, they tore me to shreds. They said that I had like no point of
Oh,
view in fashion, all this kind of shit. And
oh,
I'm just
please.
like, I look back now and I'm like, baby, I'm very accomplished. Like I knew y'all were up your asses, you know? But back then, that little Jimmy was like
Mm.
so sad, and I was just
Oh,
like, okay, I don't want to do design anymore.
Oh,
So that was the segue into styling. So
okay.
I ended up meeting this photographer and this makeup artist that I was like working with a lot, and they both were moving to LA, and I was just like, you know what? If I don't move now, I'm not gonna leave. And it was just like convenient sounds kind of disrespectful. But my grandmother was recently diagnosed with Alzheimer's and stuff, and that was like it took its toll on me a little bit. So in a way, I was kind of running away, but it was also well, if she sacrificed her entire life to give me all these opportunities, I have to, you know, make sure that I'm doing the most out of it, especially if I'm not going to college. So all of those things kind of culminated together and kind of pushed me to LA.
wow. And
what a story. Like, um, so like these shows in like the car dealership and stuff, was that in high school or like post high school? Or like that
Right at the
little.
end, yeah, right at the end of like senior year till I was like 21.
That's fucking impressive. I'm like, I don't know. I'm always just amazed by like how people can like get the just like that drive of like getting everything going at like such a young age too, and like that's very impressive, and especially like to follow your dreams in that way too. Um, yeah, I don't know.
Well, thanks, Boo.
Of
I mean,
course.
no, like to be honest, it was. I think it's kind of a thing of like that my grandparents, like seeing them, coming to
Mm.
this country and like taking no for taking no as not an answer. Wait, maybe I'm jumbling, or did that
not
sound
taking
correct?
no for an answer.
Not taking no for
Not
an
taking
answer.
no for an answer, and it's like when presented with a no, they find their yes in that kind of space. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? So I feel like that was always very inspirational to me because I was like, okay, if I'm not gonna do college, how am I gonna make myself successful and like be
Mm.
able to like, support myself and like do all these things? So it was just like, I don't have anything at my fingertips right now. What am I gonna use to make it happen, regardless, So it was very much, yeah, it was them.
Mm. Yeah.
So you had like this, I guess I would say it's your quote, where you said fashion is a vehicle for storytelling.
Hmm.
What did you mean by that? Because I think that's interesting and true.
I mean, I've always kind of been like obsessed with storytelling in general. I feel like it's like a form of like escapism from like the reality. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, I mean, like when you look at like certain like cartoons, like fairy tales, fables, all that kind of stuff, like you see like the villain is dressed in a certain way, or like the protagonist is like dressed in a certain way, or this like very like mystical creature, is has like certain colors that embody like emotions and all that kind of stuff. So when I kind of like found fashion was and when I fell in love with it, I was like doing my tote bags and all that stuff like in high school. And I started to dig into it a little. And like the first person that I fell upon was Alexander McQueen. And back then, on his website, he used to have all of his collections, but there used to be like a description. And the description like blew my mind because I didn't know that people could like, I didn't know that like things could be so detailed in this like manner. Because he would be like, well, the reason we did the runway like this was because it was to tell a story about a war between the East and the West. And it was like, the one like the Western outfits were very much like Americanized, and then the other ones were, more never eat, more like Eastern inspired, like garbs and fabrics and all this stuff. And even like it went down to like the models chosen. And I was just like, whoa, like you could actually like bring these like fairy tale characters, like these like storybook characters to life in regards to fashion. And that's kind of what made me fall in love with it was being able to like create a story, but one that was kind of like tangible and like you could see in real time, and kind of like came out of the pages. And that's kind of what I fell in love with.
I love
Yeah, I was gonna
that.
I was like when you were explaining that, I was like thinking um like I mean I don't I my eye for fashion has gotten better as I age, but my like I think my first introduction to like fashion or storytelling through fashion was like maybe like Paris is Burning, where like ball
Okay.
categories was just like how they think they present themselves best to like fit a certain like I don't want to say stereotype, but certain category works. But like it's how you hold yourself and in these certain categories and how you present the clothing and stuff is like a storytelling of like and explaining the movie to just sort of like you it's like a fantasy in a way of portraying a certain character, certain archetype of society or whatever category is presented to you. I don't know if I'm making sense right now, but
100%.
Mhm.
And I feel like that, like watching Paris is Burning 2 was just like another just like realization of like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, like you could actually like bring these characters into more of a realized, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah.
And then also like that kind of like seeing all these little things that were like, you know, how you present things and like the fantasy that you could allow people to believe, you know,
Yeah.
really like, is what drew me to drag too, because it's kind of like the ultimate form. Like you're creating a character,
Mhm.
you're conveying emotion, all of this stuff, and it's kind of just like, yeah, I mean, you are giving the fantasy.
Yeah.
Like, regardless of if you're on stage or whatever medium you choose to do it on, if
Mhm.
it's picture, video,
Mhm.
you know, in-person performance or just existing, like
Mhm.
it's really cool that you've created this like
Yeah.
character and we get to enjoy it, you know?
And then it always starts at a visual instinct, and then you get to know the story throughout that. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. I'm just thinking.
It's
Uh,
calm. It's calm.
um, so all the success from Vegas, you moved to LA. What was your experience in LA, and then how did you manage to get to New York from there?
Okay. LA was cool. I mean, I was very much going out there wanting to do like creative editorial storytelling rather than like the commercial jobs. So I was getting like I got to do a bunch of celebrity and stuff, and during that time I was still pushing a lot of like my editorial conceptualized like work, and it got me noticed, and I got to do a bunch of things. And funny enough, while I was in LA, I was dealing with my grandmother's like Alzheimer's and stuff, and I was like extremely depressed, all this stuff. And it wasn't until I like found myself kind of not necessarily like spiraling hardcore. And the next morning, my friends were like, "Hey, we're gonna go to church. Do you want to come? We're gonna go eat after, but we don't have to come back to the valley to pick you up." So I was like, all right, I'll go with y'all, whatever. So I went to church like hungover. And when I went to church, I was like sitting there. I didn't get anything from the service, nothing. And then at the end, they were like, well, if you'd like to come up, like they turn off the lights. If you'd like to come up and pray, you're more than welcome to come up and pray. And I was like, you know what? If I'm here, I might as well just do it, you know? So I went up and then like I got on my knees and I started praying. And I was just like, you know what? I was like, I hope that you take care of my family, this, and that. And then I don't know, part of me felt like vulnerable in that moment. And I was just like, and you know what? If you help me figure out a way to like release all of this like sadness and anger and all this stuff, like I would be willing to commit my life because I don't know how to do it myself, you know? And in that moment, I really felt like a presence, and I was just like, oh, like this is real. Like this is the first time I feel like somebody has like heard me out, you know, in this like, especially back then when I was like really like going through it. So I got into church and all this stuff, and I didn't get into church. I fell in love with the higher power that I was connecting with. And I met a lot of amazing people, and I met community, which was awesome. And towards the end of it, I started seeing things that I didn't really care for in the church, you know, especially in regards to like the LGBTQ plus community and all of this stuff. But I had a very strong relationship with God, whoever that may be. You know what I'm saying? I think
Mhm.
it's whoever that entity is, I think it's bigger than religion. I don't think we are capable to understand what it is, you know?
Mhm.
So my wording for it is God. But I had an amazing relationship with God, and through that I was able to process a lot of things with like my grandmother and just like everything. And there was one day my grandmother's Alzheimer's was progressing a lot, and there was a day that me and my best friend Eric were at a Starbucks, and we like pulled out and we're at a stop sign, and I felt like God speak to me in my heart and just be like, sell everything you have and move to New York City and I'm gonna bless it. And I was just like, all right, work. Let me think on that, you know? And yes, I thought about it and I was like, you know what? I was like, I can stay here and I know that my life is gonna be blessed. Like there is no doubts about it. But if I don't listen to what they told me in my heart, I could be missing out on a whole journey, you know, that's way bigger than I could have ever, you know, anticipated. So a week later, I sold all my shit and I went to like New York with like $2,000. And it was honestly the best decision I ever made in my life, you know?
Hey,
Uh-huh.
uh,
And to be honest, like during that process, I felt like it was a little bit tough with the relationship that I had with God, just because I was like, I went to New York and I asked for three things. I was like, if you give me a home, if you give me community, and if you give me a church, that I could call home, like I'll be happy. Like that's what I need from you to give me, and I'll be happy moving over there. And when I first got over here, I was like frustrated because I was just like, okay, you're like, I've asked you for these things and you didn't bless me, with the things that were similar to me in LA. And but during this time, I was like, I got my first like editorial with like W, Interview, Vogue, like everything was popping off, but I was just like, this isn't looking like LA to me. And I was like frustrated in that sense. And like hindsight being 2020, it's like I really was blessed with all those things. It just didn't look like what LA looked like,
mm,
Because I
yeah.
was given community, I was given church was my people. You know what I'm saying? Like it was it was different blessings for a different era. And that's how I've kind of like started looking at life differently. It's like sometimes we get stuck in like our okay, this doesn't look as good as it used to. So why is it not working for me anymore? And it's like if you just give yourself a moment to step back and look at the perspective, everything is kind of always working in your favor. You just have to be open-minded to like what is kind of moving and grooving. Okay, now I'm rambling. My bad.
I love it. It's
I
good.
love it.
Um, uh, yeah, no. I I think your experience like moving to New York is similar to a lot of people, just like looking for a fresh new start and like finding finding similarities to their home life back home, but like with new perspective, new eyes, new people, new faces, everything.
Mhm.
Um, um, I've been very reflective of I'm just rambling up TikTok right now. I'm sure it's a big Twitter moment right now, but there's this woman who like was like complaining about living in New York.
Oh my God, I saw that
Yeah,
today.
yeah. And she's just a transplant. And I'm like, if you're not like if you're living here and you are not appreciative of like where you're living at all times, I don't
Get
don't
out.
live here. And it um so finding success here is like not necessarily financial all the time. I think it's finding community, finding like-minded people and finding what you want out of it. So yeah. I don't know why
Very
I'm like
much.
so
You're like deep today.
I know I'm like after school special
Usually
today.
I have to like I usually have to like pull a question out of
I
you.
don't know.
You're into it.
I think the coffee enema hit. I'm just like,
I got mine lined up. I got mine lined up.
no, I
uh
chugged my cold brew today, so we're good. Sorry, Caitlin.
so before we wrap up, I saw in the email you sent me that we have to talk about Fergie. What happened
Oh,
with Fergie?
okay, no. Okay.
Is that for us or no?
That was another podcast. We had a Fergie moment on the dance floor, and then we became friends after that. So that's
I want to know the story.
it was just like I was performing one night at the Rosemont, and it was like literally like 4 in the morning.
Okay.
And yeah, like I was just like in my own world. There was like probably like 7 people there, like that time at the
Mm.
Rosemont.
Oh yeah,
And
favorite.
yeah, I just saw the girls and like Fergie was playing and we like gave shows to each other and it was like kind of magical and we just became friends after that. So yeah, it was cute. It was cute.
I'm here for it. All right, then I'm gonna do a different
Last question.
last question because I
Okay.
had another last question, but
Okay.
also um so I read your Thoughtsy article and you are like a plant queen.
You are, yes.
Yeah, the plan lady,
Tell
the
us
plan lady.
yeah, tell us about your plants.
I mean, that was a really fun journey. I mean, I'm still kind of on it, and I've always have been. Like, well, it all kind of started with like my grandfather. He like raised and like bred like tropical birds, like goats, emus, all this shit. We had like a farm in the backyard. And I thought when I was like a kid that I could like transform like Vegas into like this like rainforest if I planted enough plants over there and kind of change like the ecosystem. It didn't happen.
No.
But yeah, fast forward like a shit ton of years, and I was very like transient because of like working in fashion, so I didn't really like set like roots anywhere. Oh my god, pun! I didn't even think of that. But I really never like put down roots or anything. And I started going to therapy to get over like my grandmother's Alzheimer's and just like being depressed after I got out of this relationship and stuff like that. And one of the things that my therapist asked me was, what's one of the things that made you happiest, when you were growing up, like with your grandparents and your family and all that. And I was like, honestly, it was just like being able to spend time with like my grandfather, with the animals and like planting plants and like, just having like that kind of like space, like that tranquility. And they were like, well, why don't you try to incorporate that somehow into like your day-to-day life? And I was like, okay. Well, I was like, maybe I'll go buy a plant at like the corner store or whatever. So I bought one and I was like, okay, wait, this is kind of con. And like that turned into like 7 plants by the end of the week. And then I had like 50 plants in like a little window. And then when I moved to my new apartment and I had like all this window space and like room and all that stuff, like that like whole thing used to be all plants. The window was covered with plants, the living room. It was wild. But yeah, it was a fun experience. And oh yeah, and then I was like drag was starting, and then my like passion for like plants was also starting at the same time as well. So I was like, well, am I gonna make another Instagram for my plants because I want to post this? And my fashion styling page is not gonna want to see plants or drag, and the drag page isn't gonna want to see plants. And I was like, you know what? Let's brand it like Missleidy the Plant Lady, and we're gonna put plants and drag together, and they're gonna love it. And
I
that was it.
I was gonna say I vaguely remember you in a photo shoot and like I want to say like hardwood floors and like just surrounded by greenery and like a white
Hmm.
dress or something.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, it was for paper actually.
Oh, okay,
It was
okay.
cute. Uh-huh. Yeah, we shot at like 6 different plant stores around New York City, and I had
Uh,
like 6 different looks for them. It was kind of con. It was kind of con.
well, that brings us to our next little transition. We're about to take a little break, kids, but we're gonna talk all about
Yeah.
paper and drag
Paper and
and
drag.
gay shit. So we'll be right back.
You
Had
love
me
it.
cry.
No, wig. I feel that already. Wig. Okay. Wig. Did you just say wig? Wig. Okay. I am ready for my wig to go flying.
And we're back.
We're back.
Woo.
Hey.
Okay. So
That was my sexy voice. Get into it.
this is the first week of June apparently. So
What are you
we're
talking about? It is.
I know, yeah, it is. So we're talking all things about pride, being queer, the community. So, Missleidy, how did you get into the drag scene?
Well, I was like over here doing my thing, and already in New York City, and I was dating this shitty guy. Like he was kind of a dick, and but he was like, I don't know, he just made me feel shitty, and he was like went to Harvard and stuff, so I felt like
Oh,
he was like accomplished, and I was like, well, if I want to be like married and all this stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like this is kind of like the person. I mean, horrible thinking process, toxic, not
mhm,
cute.
mhm, mhm.
But I was just like, okay, this is what I need to do to make sure that I have like this life that I want. Like I want something that's like kind of monogamous, like we're gonna build a life together, all of this stuff. And when we broke up, I got kind of depressed, and I was living in a shitty apartment at the time, like no windows, which I don't even know how is legal. It probably isn't.
It is.
It's
And
not.
it's not. Definitely not. And yeah, I was like depressed, all this shit, and I found myself not necessarily like, well, yes, abusing alcohol in the sense where I was like getting blacked out, like every now and again when I was going out. but also kind of just looking for any form of escapism. So it was like I was traveling a lot. I was like telling myself, I was like, okay, we're not going to be depressed anymore, so we're going to live like my best life. So I was like going to like Chicago, LA, Vegas. Like I lived in London for like 2 months, you know, like I was like just doing whatever I needed to do to escape the shitty feelings. And there came a point where I smoked one night and I went to go watch TV and I had like a panic attack and I was just like, girl, you need to get your life together. Like you're spiraling. It's like not cute, you know? And I like had a little come to Jesus with myself and I was just like, we're gonna quit everything cold turkey. We're gonna get into therapy and we're just gonna figure our shit out. Like it's not cute. Like this like vicious cycle of like, okay, I feel good now, and then like I don't feel good, so I go find whatever form of escapism, and then I feel shitty again, and then I try to feel good. It was just like, I'm over it. Let's just like figure it out completely. So I would get really anxious in my like living space. One, I had no window, so I kind of felt like trapped in there. So like a way that I kind of would like combat that was like giving myself like little projects. And I was watching Drag Race with some of my friends back then. And I was just watching it and I was like, you know what? I feel like I could do that. So I was like, what if like I forced myself to like sit in my room and like teach myself how to like do makeup. So I would like do like a lip one week, or I would do like an eye and kind of like all this stuff. And it kind of like forced me to just like sit and be still and kind of like be with myself. And it was nice because like, I mean, I was ugly as shit back then. The makeup was terrible, but it was like little accomplishments. So it'd be like, oh, okay, this looks way better than it looked like last week. So it felt like I was like doing something progressive while also like being in therapy and like doing all this stuff. And that's kind of how like drag started. So I was just like, I kind of went sober for like 3 years, and I'm really happy that I got to know drag through like a sober lens and to like be able to like feel what it felt like to get on stage for the first time and like really be present for all of that and be present for like the growth of it. So yeah, and then that's how kind of like it started. And like I was just like getting into drag at first, and I went out for Halloween in drag, and Tito, who I call like my drag mom, like spotted me at one of his events, and he was like, I want you to come perform for me at $3 bill. And I was like, let's give it, you know? And it's like when
Aw.
$3 bill had that like shoebox stage, you know?
Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
So we did the first gig there, and I was like, fab, like this is so cool. And then like he was like, I want you to come to my monthly at the Rosemont, and then it kind of just took off from there.
Oh my God.
Mhm.
Timeline wise, what year are we talking?
This was maybe uh 2 years. Wait, two or one year? Two, maybe 2 years before. Yeah, 2018.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Cute. Gosh.
Yeah, because I wasn't really pushing drag like hardcore. Like I was like just like dabbling in it a little bit. I was still working like heavily in fashion. And it wasn't until the quarantine when I really was like, okay, this is what I want to do, you
Mhm.
know? And I kind of was like, well, because quarantine was that moment where I was like, I don't have to go back to the life that I was living prior to this if I didn't love it, you know? And I felt like I was kind of going through the motions in fashion. So I was like, drag makes me happy. This is what I want to do. I'm obsessed with plants. It makes me feel fulfilled. So I was just like, we're jumping into it here. And I'm not really going back to fashion in that sense.
How did
Okay.
you get your drag name?
Okay. So it was like back in the day. This is even before I started drag. But we're getting ready for a Halloween party, and one of my friends painted me, and I was looking like an old Cuban lady, and I was just like, "Yo, this is Missleidy," which is like a very common Cuban, like older woman Cuban name, you know? So I was like, "It's like this is Missleidy, that's it." And then when I actually got into drag, I was just like, okay, it's kind of like a double entendre. Like Americans are gonna think it's like Miss Lady, but it's
Mm.
actually Miss Lady, which is actually, you know, like a real name. So I was like, fab. Because when I was in high school, I actually didn't even think about it, but I kind of created this character that like I would make like little quick like videos, and I would upload them to like YouTube. And her name was Veronica Twinklestar. And I'm like, that actually would have been so kind if I came back as Veronica. But Miss Lady is the one who took over. You know?
I say make a guest appearance as Veronica. I'm sure she could do a pop-up gig.
A little something, right? You know what? Maybe I'll bring her back. I'll bring her back.
You should do a show half as Missleidy, half as Veronica.
Yeah.
Let's give it.
I'm here.
Costume change.
I'm here for a one-woman show of two people. Absolutely.
Let's give it.
Oh
And
my
you want to
God.
know something? Like, she was very artsy. Like, I didn't have makeup back then, but I had all these like puff paints. So I would literally like paint myself with like puff paints. It was kind of con. It was actually kind of con. I should revisit it.
Oh, good Lord. How would you describe your curtain drag and your performance style now?
I think it's very like I've been able to get to a place where I'm like been able to incorporate everything that I love into like one thing, you know? And it's like for a second I didn't want anything to do with fashion just because I was like I felt like the industry kind of just like sucked all the fun out of it, and I was just like I'm not really here for it. And I was in this weird place where I was just like I didn't know where I wanted to take my drag. I was just like, oh well, I'll just like exist and like make a look and whatever. And finally, like there came a point where I was just like, okay, I really want to incorporate like all the things. Like it was like another step from like the plants and drag back in the day, and this one was like you have all this like knowledge and like you have like this like point of view, like let's really like take it to the next level and like incorporate it into drag. So for me it's just like I feel like, wait, say the question again so I don't ramble.
How would you describe your your current
Okay.
drag and your performance style?
Okay, fab. Yes, very like fashion forward. I feel like I take what my point of view was in fashion and what I was producing in regards to like fashion when I was in the industry, like hardcore, and I kind of put that into Missleidy, but it always kind of has like a twist to it. I feel like it's like refined, but I'm not really afraid to like have fun and just like, you know, wear a baby's head mask and some big ass titties and just let's call it a day. You know what I'm saying? Or to show up at the gig with a mask on, or and I don't feel restricted in any sense. Like, yes, I want to give like fashion content, but if I don't feel like shaving my legs that day, like you're getting a hairy fashion content bitch, you know? And that's it. And I feel like I kind of just do whatever the fuck Missleidy feels like doing, and that's what it is.
I know you said in a different interview that you like incorporate Cuban music as well.
Yes, in regards to like performance, I mean, I love performing the things that like made me feel alive when I was like younger. You know, like when my grandmother and my grandfather would have these like get-togethers, and like there everything for me, a lot of like Spanish culture and Latin culture, especially like Cuban culture, is very performative. Like they're like a lot of the times when people get together, it's a lot of like dancing and like performing essentially, you know? And there's like quinceañeras, which is like a coming of age for girls and stuff, which I wanted one and I wish they would have gave it to me. But I guess now I'm just like, nah, you know? But yeah, it's just very much like those songs really like speak to me. So I love performing that because it's also like little gamey being like, oh, now I get to express what I really didn't get to do when I was like younger, you know? So I love Latin music and yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So it seems like that you've gotten a lot of inspiration from the Brooklyn drag scene. What have been some of your favorite performers and shows over the years?
Oof. I mean, there's so many. I mean, that's why Paper was so fun because it's like we literally just got to highlight like everyone that I think is dope as fuck, you know? Oh, okay. I remember now. I was talking to Christ Almighty
Love her.
and we were chit-chatting. No, Icon, legend.
Yeah.
And we were like chit-chatting and it came in conversation like the reason why I feel like the paper shoot was so special is because like all of these performers are style icons in their own right. You know, like everybody has a certain way that they paint, everybody has a certain way that they dress, that they perform and stuff, and you're literally highlighting a superstar in each of these, like, you know, with point of view, you know, a sense of fashion, everything. So yeah, I mean, if I had to say, like, I mean, like the ones who really like make me feel something. I mean, every performer makes me feel something, but the ones that really like take me there, like Tyler Ashley, every time like they perform a song, it just like turns me out. Like it's just like a beautiful interpretation of whatever song they feel like giving us that day. And I mean, Neon Calypso is another one who like I had the honor of like working with, and just seeing her perform a song some nights, and I'm just like, you couldn't have told me that you didn't write that song, because it's like the way that you performed it is just like, it's not how I ever envisioned it or have seen it before. I mean, Zava's another great one at doing that. And like, she is so amazing at being able to find any space, you know, and make it kind of her playground. And it's just like so interesting to just view an artist who kind of just like is so present and in the moment that they could transform anything into, you know, like what they're trying to present to you. So yeah, I mean, like, Jasmine Dash, in regards to fashion, I'm just like obsessed. Like, to be honest, like to the level of like the Vivienne Westwoods and all, and like, because I was talking to her and I was like, bitch, I see you as like one of these like London, you know, designers that are like so fucking hot, like Richard Quinn, all these people. And yeah, she's just so inspiring. She has such a point of view, a refinement, like beautiful construction when it comes to clothes. Like, yeah. So
Yeah, I've seen her stuff
yeah,
pop
I
up
don't know. I
more recently.
oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I met
I mean,
her when she first started doing drag too, which is cool to see like her success. But besides the point,
mhm.
irrelevant. Um, let's get into our big.
And I mean, and
Oh,
what?
yeah.
Okay.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, and I mean, like, what a power couple too, Diana and Jazz. Like,
Mm.
Diana kills it with the hair. Like,
Oh
it's
yeah.
like the way that she is able to construct these things and just like make these moments. I'm like, wowed. And then you have Jazz making like the fashion, and the way that they both paint is like gorgine. I mean, like, power couple, really.
I know one of your inspirations was Serena T with her book Centerfold. How did that
Yeah.
inspire you?
Well, I love Serena, and honestly, I look up to her a lot in regards to how she puts looks together. Her like the way that she performs commands attention. You know, like the way that she paints, beautiful. Like she is an icon, really. And when she did Centerfold, I was like in that middle place where I didn't know where I really wanted to take drag, really. And when I got Centerfold and I like looked in it, and I was just like, oh, she bridged it for me. Like that was like that was the epiphany. I was just like, she did what I didn't think was possible. Like I always thought that like drag and fashion would be separate. And when she brought it together and she became the subject and like was able to show all of these different images, you know, kind of capturing like these different types of like fashion photography, like pretty much like, I mean, they were all shot by the same person, but to be able to capture like these like different like stylistic um images. I don't really know the words. I'm getting tongue tied.
Mm,
But it was just like so inspiring to be like, oh shit, like this is it. You know, like
mm.
this is where I want to take it, and this is what I want to do.
Yeah, I saw some of those photos from her book. I don't have a copy of the book because I'm pretty sure she like sold out. But she really stepped up the photography game, and just documenting drag in that way. So I don't know. It was a very cool project to see. Um,
Yeah,
but
definitely.
yeah. Um, so that brings us to our big talking point of the episode, the love letter to New York drag with Paper Magazine. Um, tell us all about it, how to come to be, and mainly what were your inspirations for this project?
It's a big project.
It is a big
My
project.
word. I mean, it kind of started out as like, well, when I wanted to bring like fashion into my drag and stuff like that, I started out just like creating like a bunch of looks and like shooting them for like myself. And I got to a point where I was like, okay, I kind of did that. Like, what's the next thing? So I was like, I want to shoot shoots with like some of my homegirls that I find very inspiring. So like the first ones were like, I want to do a beauty shoot with like Rain and Dev because I feel like they just like paint like soft beauty, you know, like they're gonna give me like a beauty campaign. So that's what I want to do. And then I was like thinking of like Essence, and I was like, Essence to me just moves in a way that's like water, you know, like she just looks hot, like she gives off this like street style kind of like, you know, unapologetic sexiness. And I was like, okay, I want to do like kind of the street style shoot with Essence. And me and Virginia were talking, and I was like, you know, bitch, I think it would be kind of if we did like this like 80s kind of like retro kind of thing together. So that was kind of like what the project was going to be at first, and there was like no ties to a magazine or anything. And I forgot how it came up, but I was talking to the peeps at Paper, and I was like, hey, because like back in the day, I did a similar story, but with my family. I kind of wanted to create a time capsule where I got to shoot my entire family in this like reality, like fantasy reality, where I had them in like high fashion. So I had like my grandmothers in like Gucci, and like my little brothers in like Kenzo, and my grandmother and like Alexander McQueen. So it was like I really wanted to create this kind of like world where we shot them in like my old high school, the first hotels that they worked at, all this kind of stuff.
Aw.
So I brought it up to paper, and I was like, I think it would be kind of cool if we did something similar to this, but we did it with the Queens Kings and like things of like New York City. You know, like I feel like that would be kind of cool. And they were like, Fab, let's do it. So I was like, oh, okay. And at first it was kind of smaller. Like I had like the individual shoots, and I wasn't really like thinking of like how big it could be. And then there came a point when I really started like mood boarding it, and I was just like, okay, we need to have everybody involved. Like the one thing I didn't want was, I remember when I first started drag, I kind of felt this insecurity of like, oh, maybe I don't like really like belong here. And I felt like a lot of that stemmed from like fashion being so political and very much like you're either in the inner circle or you're kind of not kind of thing. And I had that kind of insecurity when I first got into fashion. So when I was like planning this, and I was like, okay, if we're gonna shoot like the community of New York City, like I was like, I don't want anybody to feel left out, you know? I was like, I want to showcase everybody, and I want to showcase everybody as like a superstar. Like I didn't want to just like photographers who come around. We want to shoot while you're getting ready. And I'm like, definitely not. You know, I look fucking crazy right now. Like, let's create something that's like art rather than, you know, shooting me as like a clown before I get on stage, you know? So yeah, I started like planning it, and yeah, it all kind of just like came together like very like organically. Like a lot of the shoots had like I grouped different performers together for like different reasons, you know? And I really feel like we highlighted everybody's best qualities in each of the shoots. Like there's no one shoot that I could be like, this one was better than the other. I feel like they're all special to me in regards to different things. I mean, like there's certain shoots where videos speak to me like louder than others, just because like for me, honestly, one of my favorites was the Hardware video, because it's like you got to see just personality after personality, and it was just like honestly, I have goosebumps, like really.
Aw.
But it was just like you just got to see like performers just like giving it, you know, for the 3 seconds that they were in the video. But for those 3 seconds, like they were living, you know what I'm saying? And you were living with them. Like I've watched that video like literally over 100 times. And yeah, it was fun. And it was also fun to like given the opportunity from paper to be like, okay, if we're gonna showcase not only the performers, like let's showcase the performers in all the aspects, you know, like we had like Sherry Poppins and Mother Teresa shoot two of the shoots as well. And like to be able to incorporate like Scenario's music, you know, into a lot of the videos and everything, and like bringing in like Minty makeup into like all of the shoots and stuff like that. It was really cool to just like really bring like New York City in this like little series and really just showcase what I think is like the best of the best of like New York City.
It's
It's a great time capsule.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's been so special to watch. I always refresh the page because I'm like, oh, is there a new one out today?
I remember like every like half hour.
Yeah, I'm like, where's the new one? I don't what
it was our New Year's, I think.
Yeah. I know there's 10 in total, correct?
That's how many I counted
13.
on the website.
There's
There's 13.
Okay.
I only saw 10 on Paper Mag.
Well, there's still 3 more to go.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. I'm excited.
By the time this comes out, I'm sure it'll be out. Yeah.
It'll be out by
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's also, God bless you for managing. I don't know how many queens are in total, but I'm assuming over 100. So God bless you, getting them all together in separate rooms, but all together. Because I know that's a task.
It was honestly fun, and to be honest, everybody was like so into it that it was easy. Like there wasn't really like any like drama with it. Like it was easy to coordinate. Like being a queen also, like I know timing and stuff, especially of like when like people start getting ready for their gigs and stuff like that. So it was easier to coordinate and be like, okay, I know that this time to this time can work, and if you're already gonna be in, you know, in the look, you might as well just go straight to the gig. So I would plan it kind of like in that regard. So like we weren't just having people like getting ready and then just getting out of it. Like if they had a gig afterwards, I'd try to keep that in mind and stuff like that.
Kind.
Yeah, that is kind of you. Because I mean, it really helps to work with a production team that has worked with drag queens before, because that's usually not the case, and it's usually a nightmare.
And to be honest, like the project really came together, and I have to give a shout out to NoFX, because if it wasn't for them, like I don't think I would have been able to do as much as we did with this project. Like with the last shoot, he really helped me like lock down the movie theater, and he did a lot of the videos for the series and some of the imagery as well. And he also opened up a studio to me, so he was like, whenever you need the studio for whatever shoot, like let me know the date and you're free to use everything in here. And I was just like, yeah, he honestly made it really possible. So thank you, Noah. I love you.
He was also very, very sweet when I met him in Hardware.
Yeah.
Not to have biases, but I did like those Hardware shoot a lot.
Well, I was gonna ask you how was your experience with it?
It was like
I want to hear that.
Oh my God, it was great. It was like a little mini like drag con or bushwig reunion, because there was just like so many performers all in one space. And it was great to see everybody. And also the photo shoot was like super quick and easy, so I could just like go talk to people afterwards. It just felt like a fun little like event. I loved it. From a style point, I was obsessed with it because one of my biggest inspirations is like the 80s, like Club Kids and all that stuff. So like with Ryan's photographs, you really captured that energy of like very like nostalgic era of drag, which a lot of the performers that were there like were also like doing, not maybe intentionally, but like doing homages to as well. So it really worked for me. I loved it. And I've loved all the series too. Seeing all my faves and my babes on paper is always exciting. Basically,
that makes me so happy.
Yeah. Thank you again for having me. It meant a lot. And yeah, it was cool to see everybody. And now when I see like if a photo shoot dropped and I see one of whoever's in it, I always say congrats on paper, because it's a big deal for a lot of us. And yeah, so thank you for doing it. It's been great.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And hopefully it's not, well, it's definitely not the last. Like,
Yes.
this was very much like the fluffer, you know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Like, I definitely want to keep this like trajectory going, and I just want it to become more conceptualized and more like refined, you know?
Hmm.
So I wanted paper to be like, okay, this is what we can do. And that's why I
Hmm.
wanted it to be like a wide range of like different aesthetics, like photography, video, all that kind of stuff. So I'm like, this is what we can do. You know, this is the level of production that we could do. Like you see that the hair, the makeup, everything is to the tens. Like now what's the next? You know?
Hmm. Hmm.
So I definitely want like I'm speaking it into existence. I want Vogue, I want W, I want Interview, I want all the major mags, and I think it's gonna happen.
It's definitely gonna
I feel
happen.
I feel like the timing is right, especially with all the controversy going on in America right now
Yeah.
about
Hmm.
drag. But I feel like fashion always like kind of likes to cling on to any
Yeah.
sort of
Yeah.
controversial moment in a good way. Like they like to highlight it.
Hmm.
So
Um,
I can totally see it.
Speaking on that, how has the reaction or how have the editorials been received so far?
I mean, pretty great. Everybody like really loves it. And it's honestly like brought a lot of joy, which I think is kind of nice instead of like hearing just like shitty legislations and stuff every day to actually see like queer like happiness and like just queer art has been like really refreshing for like me and a lot of people who've like reached out. So yeah, pretty good.
Good.
Love.
The Republicans haven't caught wind yet.
Mm.
There
No
was definitely
pitchforks.
some comments and some things, but honestly, it doesn't really like bother me too much. I'm just
No.
like, I don't give a shit, you know?
That's right.
So yeah.
It's I saw some of the comments on, well, I mean it's the internet, so of course I see comments on stuff. But it's weird because Paper's very like queer friendly and they've always been like very queer friendly. So to see like bigots on their like Instagram pages, I'm like, where did you find this?
Yeah, where'd you find
Why
this?
are you following them?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And and the reason why it doesn't really like affect me is because like if you're like seeking out gay shit to talk shit about, you're probably really interested in it and you're probably just a closeted,
Yeah.
whatever you are. So, Diva, like come to the dark side and have a little fun, you know? Stop hating from the sidelines. Stop hating.
Absolutely.
So that's gonna bring us to our last little. It's not really a question, but you said that drag isn't only a form of self-expression, it's art, it's political, and in its truest form, it's love. So
Mhm.
I like that.
Uh, okay, wait, do you want me to talk about that?
Well, like if you wanted to like go a little further with that.
Hmm. Um, yeah, I
Like
mean, of course it's political,
Mm.
like it's totally against like the norm of what, especially like is so hard, specifically like America, which is like this like Christian conservative, like binary, like stereotypical kind of whatever. We understand why it's political and everything, but in its truest form, it is kind of love. Like you've chosen to like love and embrace like what and who you are, and like what you want to experience like in this life. When I feel like so many of these conservatives that are pissed is because they feel like they're probably in this like rigid box that is like totally imaginary and like they give to themselves because of like religion and like society, like what's the word, societal pressures or whatever. I don't really know, but yeah, like it's like pretty much like drag is love because you're loving yourself enough to experience what happiness is and like to be able to share that joy or to share any kind of emotion, like you've given yourself the freedom and the love and like the space to do that. So yeah, and I feel like especially with drag, I mean like there's gonna be catty people and shitty people in every aspect of life, in every workplace and everything. But for the most part, like our community, and I can only speak for New York because I haven't really like been in any other drag communities besides that, but I've met like other performers from other states and it feels very much the same. Like New York feels very much like a family. Like it doesn't matter if you're one kind of performer or another. Like when we get together, it's a key, you know? Like, and we kind of saw that at Stand Up. Like there was so every kind of performer from New York City was together, and it was really just a celebration, you know?
Mm.
So yeah, it is love. It's community. It's embracing each other, meeting everybody where they're at, and kind of celebrating everyone.
And on that note, we're gonna take our next little break. We'll be right back, kids. Bye.
Bye.
I know. Wig. I feel that already. Wig. Okay. Wig. Did you just say wig? Wig. Okay. I am ready for my wig to go flying.
And we're back. Ooh.
We're back. Besides paper, which now everything is out, do you have any future upcoming projects to promote?
Yes. So I don't know if by this time it'll be out, but I kind of don't want to talk about it just yet because I want it to be like,
Mhm.
you know, I don't want to jinx anything. But there is another shoot project coming, which I think might be the last one for this summer, unless it's something major like gets thrown in front of me and I'm like, okay, we got to do it. But it's gonna be one thing, and I feel like it's gonna hit like politically, but it's also gonna be visually like insanely stunning. So I'm excited for that, and I think the summer's gonna be pretty chill. But when I come back in the fall, I feel like the project is gonna pick up again. So yeah, just be prepared for more shoots. I'm excited for it.
Excited. I'm absolutely excited.
What is the best advice you've been given about drag, in drag? You could give other people, any of that.
Let me see. Maybe the best uh advice I've ever gotten about performing was whatever, because like in the beginning I used to be like, oh well, do I need to perform this like top 40 song because that's what these people are gonna, you know, respond to best or anything. And the best advice I ever got was when you get on that stage, you know, you are the one who's giving us the story. We have no input in that. We are here to receive whatever you put out. So that kind of changed my mind on how I like chose what I wanted to perform and how I wanted to give it to people, especially doing a lot of Latin numbers in spaces that are predominantly like white. I used to be like, well, I don't know if they're gonna receive it. And at a certain point, after somebody told me that, I was just like, oh, well, I really don't give a shit because if you're here to watch Missleidy, and Misslady's gonna give you what Missleidy gives, you know, and you're gonna enjoy it. And if you don't, then go to another show. So yeah, I feel like that was the some of the best advice I ever got.
Caitlin, wrap us up with our last question.
Okay, last question. Where do you want to take your drag in the future?
I don't know. I just want to be able to really tell the stories that I want to tell, and that's kind of it. I don't really know if I'll be doing drag, and maybe I will. It is so fun, but at a certain point, I definitely want to like brand out and kind of have like a job where in some sort of facet of like the drag world that I've been able to build. I mean, I would love to like open like a nursery and like sell plants as like an older gay and like have that be my livelihood until I like die essentially. But yeah, I don't know. Something chill. I want to be able to like tour the world that would be sick as fuck, you know? And like perform in a bunch of places and meet a bunch of people and like see a bunch of stuff. And yeah, create some like beautiful imagery on that journey and honestly just be happy and have fun. And I feel like that's kind of all I want.
I love that answer.
Take over the world.
Take over the world.
Hello.
Well, thank you so much for being on our little show.
Thank you for having me. It was
Of
so
course.
fun.
It's been a pleasure. Where can the kids find you on the internet?
You can find me on Insta at Missleidy Rodriguez. And yeah, that's pretty much where I'm most active. I don't have Twitter. I barely use my TikTok, so hit me up on Insta if you want to chat and see what I'm working on.
Hey, oh, thank you again, babe. It's been a pleasure getting to know you. I was Martyr,
I say Tepper.
and this was Wigging Out. Happy June, faggots. Bye.
I'm C Tepper. You can follow me on Instagram at CTEPPER and read my book, The State of Drag, where I interviewed 175 drag queens from around the world. All proceeds go to charity on Amazon.com.
Ooh, I love that. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Drag the Martyr. And if you have any thoughts, comments, dick pics, send them to dragthemartyr@gmail.com.
Listen, rate, and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Play, and Pandora.
And catch up with past episodes on WERRRK.com. That's WERRRK.com. Artwork for Wigging Out was provided by Glitter Baby Online. That's Glitter Baby Online. Thank you.